The two-year anniversary of the assassination of revered Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, the newly minted president of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, declared that his country would exact revenge for this murder unless Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo face trial. Raisi wants this in an Islamic court, or, he says, face martyr revenge. His comments come a day after Iran submitted a letter to the UN Security Council calling for the U.S. and Israel to be held accountable for this killing. Iran believes Israel played a role in the 2020 drone attack in Baghdad that killed the general. This as thousands of mourners attended mosque and took to the streets of Iran in a memorial rally for the late Quds Force leader in the IRGC. For more on this, we are being joined now by former Pentagon official Mike Maloof and former Marine Corps intelligence officer and UN weapons inspector Scott Ritter. Scott, staying with you here, Raisi wants Trump and Pompeo tried, and more specifically, in an Islamic court. That's never going to happen. They have to know this, right? I mean, is this just all for show? Why say that?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely correct. It will never happen, ever. Not just in an Islamic court. It won't happen in any court. Donald Trump is not the only president, and Mike Pompeo is not the only Secretary of State who can be implicated in, actions that violate international law. I don't think there's a modern American president whose hands are clean on this. And as such, the United States, in its sense of entitlement and exceptionalism, will never allow its elected leaders to be held accountable to an international body. But Iran, Iran has said there will be revenge, and I believe Iran. There will be revenge. I mean, a couple of days ago, Americans allowed the anniversary of Soleimani's assassination to pass unnoticed. No American knew about it. This was supposed to be the big moment. We killed the guy. Nobody cares because it wasn't the moment. It was murder, plain and simple. But Iran didn't forget about it. They're holding demonstrations. They're vowing revenge. By seeking justice, Iran is checking off a box that in its own internal process will justify whatever eventual action they do take. They will be able to say, we tried to seek justice. Justice was denied. We had no other option than to do whatever they're planning on doing, which they will be doing.
Gotcha. It's laying the groundwork. Now, Mike, why is Iran claiming Israel has any culpability here? What evidence do they have to make such an assertion?
Well, there is strong evidence that Israel was following the movements of Soleimani and actually passed on information to the United States as to Soleimani's location. Frankly, Soleimani was quite open about his actions of flying into Baghdad. This is the second time that Iran has sought to go through Interpol with a so-called red notice for the 47 Americans. And they have identified those 47 Americans. And it's my information from my sources inside Iran that if they don't seek justice this time, and Interpol has already indicated they're not going to honor that response, that they will go out and look for those 47 Americans. And if they can identify who they are, they probably are keeping an eye on where they are.
From the Iranian perspective, they have every right to go after those who perpetrated what cannot be said in any other way was a illegal murder of one of their most senior military officials.
Yeah, Mike, what do you make of that? Is it going to be, an individual hit on these people on the list, or is it going to be more of a broad state response?
It's my understanding from my sources that it's going to be an individual hit. They're going to go out looking for them. And Iran has contacts everywhere.
The assassination of Qasem Soleimani is it should go down in history as one of the darkest crimes committed by the United States, and the ramifications for this crime will be considerable. This was a great man in Iran, a great man. And any Iranian expert in the United States security framework knew this. This is the equivalent of taking out, a combination of America's greatest heroes all rolled into one, and having Iran assassinate them because they're unhappy with the success that they've enjoyed. Qasem Soleimani was a very successful general. a very successful diplomat, and his success was to the detriment of the United States. And so this was an act of revenge by the United States, not so much for, acts of terror committed by Qasem Soleimani, but the fact that he was playing the game better than we were. He was beating us across the board, and we killed him because we didn't have a solution. And now we're going to pay the price.